Good morning, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the second major episode of Ducking Games. Well, technically it's the third, but who cares? The show where we disregard marketing and talk about games, the game design and stuff. Today we're going to take the sensitive topic, the storytelling. Well, you can't do much of a game without any story. Am I right? Am I right? 'Cause I am. Some games consist of nothing but story. People may love stories, people may hate it, but the stories in games are important. It's not the most important part ever, but no story can be neglected. Imagine playing CSGO, but not as a terrorist versus counter-terrorists, but one team versus another. You'll just add the story details yourself in the process. Because humans need to know what caused some events. Humans, at the very least, need the archetypes. They will fill the holes left by ripping the story away from the game. Like in the CSGO scenario, one are the terrorists, the others are counter-terrorists. Wow, archetypes at the work. Well, the process of storytelling is the cornerstone of the modern video game development cycle. You often hear the argument, should a player that have spent $60 for the game demand the fullest experience, never mind the skill of said player? It's a highly debatable question, but for me it's get good or watch someone else do it. Of course you're not eligible of the whole story for $60, you just paid the money. Though, let's actually discuss the storytelling mechanics. Interactive storytelling is far more demanding than more traditional counterparts. You can't expect a person to always follow the same path each and every time they experience the story. No, they will explore your medium and find the way to break the narrative. Always. They will always do it, just expect it. Expect the unexpected. That's the rule of the thumb. Also, you can't always use the plot twist. Like, once it will work, the second time it may work as well, but you seriously cannot expect people to be always surprised that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Oh wait. Oh, spoiler alert. Oh crap. Too late. Well, you know the drill, you know the idea. I'm sure you have seen the movie. But storytelling is a huge part of game industry debates. Some time ago, there was absolutely no need to tell the story. The story existed, but only for the people who wanted to look for it. Take id Software games, for example. There were other ways of telling the stories. And there were stories with other ways of presenting the gameplay mechanics. For example, take Sierra point-and-click adventures. They are the finest example of storytelling and demanding some skill. Like you had to use your brain to progress in the story. You just had to. And then people were starting to figure out how to add more story to the action games or more action to the storytelling games. And now we have some gems of gradual storytelling from that age. Take, for example, Thief series. Not the modern one. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Deus Ex. Not the modern one. But some games ducked horribly though. Sorry about that. But there still are games that leave you with a glimpse of the story, and you have to actively seek out the game story for yourself. As for me, making you invested in the process of receiving the story as well as in the process of finalizing it is the best, the absolute pinnacle best way of storytelling in the interactive medium. Want some good examples? Or bad examples? Let's have some. Imagine the story in the Sunless Sea. If you follow my Twitch channel or YouTube or just heard about this story, Sunless Sea presents you with the world. Sunless Sea presents you with the ship and London. The rest is up to you. You can just sail for the money, get money, retire, have the ambition like that, and you're set. You're fine. You don't need anything else to do with your life. But on the other hand, there is so much more going on in the Untersee, as they call it. You need to want to explore it. You need to feel the urge to explore it. And the more you explore it, the more answers and the more questions you will get. The deeper will be your understanding of the world you're living in. The more you will understand how to live in this world, how to excel at everything in this world, how to fulfill your ambition in the end. Or let's take another indie gem, Age of Decadence. This is the very, very good isometric RPG. The goodness of it can be debatable because it is hard as hell, but it has very compelling storytelling. It has, let's say, it's not the story you take the central part in, it's the story you can experience from the different angles. It has the story. The story will unravel without you, or with you, if you will. But every time you choose the different path, you experience the same story, but from the different angle. You can have this story from the perspective of the good guys. You can have this story from the perspective of the bad guys. And yeah, you can call it right from here. There is no actually good and actually bad guys in this story. No, there is much more to it. There are people who want to get more power, more money, more influence in this world. And there are people who want to grow spiritually. And what will you choose? How will you choose it? It's up to you. Just, you cannot expect to experience everything from just one playthrough. No, you have to take this story part by part. And then you will have the full story in your head. After that you have finished the actual story from the different angles. Alright, let's finish about the indie games. Let's go for the big titles. The most unexpected one. Take Half-Life, for example. Do you know anything about Black Mesa before you start running around, hitting headcrabs with a crowbar, looking for a G-Man, shooting people? You don't know anything. You are presented the story in the process. It's actually a bit more interactive than you would expect because you can listen to every dialogue the scientists have to say, you can interpret it, but you can experience everything with just one walkthrough. But it is still better than just you went to the mandatory waypoint, you get the mandatory story. More of it later. Another fine, just great example, the Dark Souls. When you are presented to the Dark Souls, do you actually know that it is a vast and deep world? It has a lot of history, it has a lot of lore, it has its own legends, it has its own magic, it has its own debates on the story. You don't often see it from your first walkthrough. You have to talk with every guy in there. You have to listen to them carefully. Well, you have to beat all the optional bosses. Then you will have the compelling story, and the story is totally worth it. The story in Dark Souls is just grandeur, it's great. And it's very, very interesting. If you cannot beat the Dark Souls, there is always a YouTube or Twitch. Just go in there, take the look at the Dark Souls lore, have a time of your life with it. It's really that awesome. But you see, these all games have one thing in common. They don't spoon-feed you the story. They present you the existence of said story, and they're willing to participate with parts of it if you prove to be worthy. This makes their stories valuable for you, the player. This makes you play again and again to see more of the story, to get all the tiny bits you might have missed the first time, or the info so you know more of the world. You can actually speculate and think about what you saw, and even try to reason the actions of everyone involved in the story after all that. And for me, it's far, like miles better than presenting the story in mandatory parts, like most of the modern AAA games work. You go to the certain point in space, in game, in time, you get the chunk of the story, and you will get it in any case. You don't need to struggle to it, you just get the story. You have your mandatory Deckard Cain that will explain to you while you're staying a while and listening. What did you encounter just now? And he will explain even what will you encounter next in the next section of the game, to be presented the next part of the story. You are being spoon-fed every bit of it. And if you want to speculate about something, hey, we have audio logs, we have books, we have notes scattered around, and if it's not enough, we have developers' commentaries. So you have to come to right conclusions after you finish the story. The bad guy is bad after all, You can't have second opinion. Though don't you think that presenting the maximum of your story in the single playthrough of your game, we actually lose more interactivity than we gain interesting storytelling? I mean, it's not worth it to trade one for another. Well, as the final example, take walking simulators. They are just that, the storytelling experience. They demand no skill at all. You are just being presented the story. They are just as interactive as the VCR. You can pause the game, not progressing much, and you can go on with the game, start walking. And they are still considered games, It's not that I don't expect them to be not games. They might be games, I don't know. It's the story for another time, not for now, but still they have the interactivity of the VCR. And for what? Just to tell you some story. We'll get to them in the next time, I think. For today, I think we have figured how to tell the story. And the next time, we're going to figure out what to tell. So, thank you for listening. If you have something to say about it, leave it in the comment on the duckracy.com. Visit it. It's the great site. Or even better, join the Discord server. I'll leave the link somewhere in the description. Subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitch, do whatever you feel like. And I'll see you, beautiful people, next week. For now, duck off.